Welcome to Life Stories, where we bring you heartfelt tales of love, resilience, and life-changing lessons. Today's story is about Olivia, a young woman whose kindness and strength helped her rise above unimaginable hardships. From enduring cruelty at the hands of her stepmother to finding true love in the most unexpected way, Olivia's journey is a testament to the power of forgiveness and perseverance. Join us as we unfold her incredible story of triumph over adversity. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to begin today's story. Let's dive into the world of life stories. In a quiet town nestled amidst rolling hills and winding roads, lived Abigail and Jack, a couple whose love for each other had weathered many storms. Abigail was a gentle soul, deeply kind, with a heart that radiated warmth. Jack adored her beyond measure. Together, they had a daughter, Olivia, who was not only beautiful but also wise beyond her years. Yet, despite the happiness their small family shared, there was a shadow that loomed over them, a shadow cast by society's expectations and relentless pressures. It wasn't that Abigail and Jack didn't want more children, they did. But life, as it sometimes does, had other plans. Years passed after Olivia was born, and Abigail was unable to conceive again. At first, it didn't matter. Jack reassured Abigail that their daughter was enough, that she was more than they could ever ask for. But the whispers began, first from distant relatives, then from neighbors, and eventually from Jack's own mother, Margaret. Margaret was a traditionalist, fiercely proud of her family's legacy. To her, having just one child wasn't enough. She worried endlessly about the future, about what would happen if anything were to happen to Olivia. Her concerns grew louder each time she visited their home in Willow Creek. "Abigail," Margaret would say, her tone laced with both sadness and frustration. "A family is like a house. One pillar cannot hold it up. You must give Jack more children. What if something happens to Olivia? What then?" Abigail would smile softly, swallowing her pain, and try to assure her mother-in-law. But Margaret wasn't one to be placated easily. Her words often stung like thorns, leaving Abigail to retreat to her room, where tears became her only solace. Jack, ever the supportive husband, tried to shield his wife from his mother's relentless demands. "I love Abigail," he told Margaret one evening. "She's given us Olivia, who's smart, strong, and everything a parent could hope for. Why isn't that enough?" Margaret shook her head, her eyes filled with determination. "Enough. Enough is when there's a house full of laughter and children running around. That's a family. Jack, you're being selfish, not thinking about the future." The pressure began to weigh heavily on Abigail. No matter how much Jack reassured her, she couldn't silence the voices around her. Society had a way of making her feel inadequate, of magnifying her inability to have more children into a failing that consumed her. She started believing that perhaps she was holding Jack back, denying him the family he deserved. One evening, after weeks of battling her inner turmoil, Abigail made a decision. She approached Jack, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "Jack," she began, "I know you love me. And I love you more than words can say. But your family is right. You deserve more children. You deserve a full house." Jack frowned, pulling her close. "Abigail, what are you saying? You're my wife, my partner. I don't want anyone else." Tears streamed down Abigail's face as she whispered, "Please, Jack, marry again. I want you to be happy. I want Olivia to have siblings. A family that will stand by her when we're gone." Reluctantly, and only because Abigail insisted, Jack agreed. His heart was heavy as he married Brenda, a woman who, on the surface, seemed kind and accommodating. At first, Brenda fit into their lives seamlessly. She smiled warmly, spoke softly, and promised to bring harmony to their family. But it didn't take long for her true nature to emerge. Brenda's demeanor shifted after she gave birth to her first child. Her kindness turned into sharp words, her warmth into cold stares. She treated Abigail and Olivia like outsiders in their own home. Brenda's children, 2 sons and 2 daughters, took after their mother, often causing trouble and creating chaos. The once peaceful home became a place of tension and discord. For Jack and Abigail, moments of solace became rare. They would occasionally escape to neighboring towns for brief respites, hoping to recapture the happiness they once knew. But these moments were fleeting, overshadowed by the growing turmoil in their household. Then, tragedy struck. One fateful day, while returning from a wedding in a nearby town, Jack and Abigail were involved in a devastating car accident. The news sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. Abigail and Jack were gone, leaving Olivia behind to face a world that suddenly seemed colder and more unforgiving than ever. In the days that followed, Olivia's life took a dark turn. Brenda, now the head of the household, showed no mercy. She treated Olivia like a servant, assigning her endless chores and denying her the love and care she so desperately needed. The vibrant, hopeful child who once lit up every room she entered was now a shadow of her former self, weighed down by the cruelty of her stepmother and step-siblings. Through it all, Olivia held on to the lessons her parents had taught her. She remained kind, even when kindness was met with disdain. She stayed strong, even when the world seemed determined to break her spirit. And though her heart ached with longing for the parents she had lost, she never let go of the hope that one day, things would get better. As Abigail's story faded into memory, Olivia's journey was just beginning, a journey that would test her resilience, challenge her beliefs, and ultimately, redefine her destiny. Life in the once loving household had become unbearable for Olivia. Brenda, her stepmother, had transformed it into a place of torment. Every day brought new hardships for Olivia, endless chores, biting words, and little to no kindness from anyone under the roof that once sheltered her family's love. Her step-siblings, emboldened by Brenda's behavior, treated her as though she were less than human. They mocked her, sabotaged her efforts, and ensured that every moment of her life felt like a punishment. Olivia, however, clung to the lessons her parents had instilled in her. She believed in the power of kindness, even when surrounded by cruelty. Though her life had become a series of relentless tasks and emotional bruises, Olivia refused to let bitterness take root in her heart. She found small moments of peace in the beauty of the world around her, a blooming flower, the sound of the wind through the trees, or the kindness of strangers she encountered during errands. These fleeting moments reminded her that not all of life was harsh. One such errand, however, changed the course of her life forever. On a particularly grueling day, Brenda sent Olivia to fetch some supplies from the market. As she hurried along the dusty path, her tired feet caught on a stone, and she tumbled to the ground. Bruised and shaken, she began to gather herself when a voice interrupted her. "Are you all right?" asked a young man, his voice warm with concern. Looking up, Olivia saw a man dressed in simple, tattered clothes. His hands were calloused, his appearance modest, but his eyes held a kindness that made her pause. He offered her his hand and helped her to her feet. His name was Ethan, and he was a bread seller who worked near the market. They exchanged a few pleasantries, and Ethan walked her to the market, ensuring she was safe. There was something about him, his gentleness, his sincerity, that made Olivia feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. When they parted ways, he smiled and said, "Take care, miss. I hope we meet again." For Ethan, the encounter lingered in his mind long after they parted. There was something extraordinary about Olivia, something he couldn't quite explain. He began to ask around about her, learning bits and pieces of her story. The more he discovered, the more he admired her resilience and character. Ethan decided he wanted to know her better, and over time, he found ways to visit her. Sometimes he would bring her bread or offer to help with errands. Olivia, initially hesitant, grew to trust him. Their friendship blossomed, becoming a rare source of joy in her otherwise bleak existence. Ethan never judged her for her struggles. Instead, he admired her strength and kindness. Meanwhile, Brenda took note of Ethan's visits. Assuming he was just a poor bread seller with no prospects, she allowed the friendship to continue, thinking that someone as seemingly insignificant as Ethan posed no threat to her plans for Olivia. Brenda had long since decided that Olivia would never marry someone of worth. She had chased away many suitors, spreading lies and ensuring no one would come near Olivia. To her, Olivia's happiness was a threat, a reminder of the love and loyalty that Brenda could never truly command. But Ethan was different. He wasn't deterred by Brenda's schemes or her attempts to intimidate him. His intentions were pure, and his determination to protect Olivia only grew stronger. One day, after months of friendship, Ethan gathered his courage and proposed to Olivia. His words were simple but heartfelt. "Olivia," he said, "I may not have much, but I have a heart full of love for you. Will you marry me?" Olivia was taken aback. She hadn't dared to dream of a future beyond the walls of her father's house. Yet, in Ethan's eyes, she saw sincerity, kindness, and the promise of a better life. Despite the hardships she faced, she trusted him. With a soft smile, she nodded and said, "Yes." Brenda, when informed of the proposal, laughed dismissively. "A poor bread seller? Perfect," she said. "Let her marry him. It's no loss to me." But little did Brenda know, Ethan was far from the man she thought he was. Beneath his modest exterior lay a truth that would soon change everything for Olivia, for Brenda, and for everyone who had underestimated them. The stage was now set for a revelation that would transform Olivia's life forever, proving that resilience and kindness could pave the way to unimaginable happiness. The wedding between Olivia and Ethan was a modest affair. They could only afford a few drinks, simple decorations, and a humble gathering of close acquaintances. Brenda and her daughters, Melanie and Chloe, mocked the simplicity of the event. They laughed as Olivia prepared for the wedding, whispering cruel comments about her poverty and lack of prospects. For them, the union between Olivia and Ethan was the perfect reflection of her lowly status, a fate they believed she deserved. What they didn't know was that Olivia didn't care about the grandeur of the wedding. For the first time in years, she felt hope. Ethan's kindness had shown her that love was not about wealth or appearances but about mutual respect and genuine connection. She looked forward to starting a life with him, no matter how humble it seemed. As the wedding day approached, Ethan and Olivia focused on the future they would build together. They planned a simple life, filled with love, hard work, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Ethan often reminded Olivia, "We may not have much, but together, we'll create a life worth living." The day of the wedding arrived. Melanie and Chloe pretended to help with the preparations but continued their snide remarks, ridiculing everything from Olivia's dress to the lack of extravagant decorations. Brenda, meanwhile, wore a smug smile, satisfied that Olivia's life would be tied to someone she believed had nothing to offer. After the ceremony, Ethan led Olivia to their new home. The journey was long, taking them far from Willow Creek. As they traveled, Olivia couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. For the first time, she was leaving behind the place that had been the source of so much pain. When they finally arrived, Olivia was prepared for a modest cottage or a small hut. But to her amazement, Ethan stopped in front of a sprawling estate. The house was grand, surrounded by lush gardens, fields, and even a few servants who came out to greet them. Olivia stared in disbelief. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ethan smiled warmly, taking her hand. "This is our home," he said. "I wanted you to know the truth. I'm not a bread seller. I only disguised myself to find someone who would love me for who I am, not for my wealth. You've shown me that your heart is pure, Olivia. And now, this is where we'll build our life together." Tears filled Olivia's eyes, not because of the wealth, but because of the love and respect Ethan had shown her. She realized she had found someone who valued her for her character, not for her circumstances. In that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. As Olivia settled into her new life, Ethan's generosity and kindness became a beacon of hope for the community. Together, they helped those in need, offering support and resources to anyone who crossed their path. Olivia's experiences of hardship and resilience had shaped her into a compassionate and understanding woman. She never forgot where she came from, and she treated everyone with the kindness she had longed for during her darkest days. Months later, news of Olivia and Ethan's newfound life reached Willow Creek. Brenda and her daughters were stunned. They couldn't believe the poor bread seller was, in fact, a wealthy man of influence. Jealousy consumed them, and they began plotting ways to insert themselves into Olivia's life, hoping to benefit from her fortune. Their opportunity came when an annual festival was announced, a grand event hosted by Ethan's family to celebrate their contributions to the community. The festival was a colorful, lively affair that drew people from neighboring towns and villages. Brenda, Melanie, and Chloe saw this as their chance to reconnect with Olivia and, perhaps, regain some status. On the day of the festival, Olivia stood at the entrance of her new home, greeting guests with her usual warmth and grace. She wore a beautiful dress, her smile radiant, and her demeanor as kind as ever. When Brenda and her daughters arrived, Olivia's heart sank. Memories of their cruelty flooded back. But she maintained her composure. She greeted them with the same kindness she showed everyone else, refusing to let bitterness overshadow her newfound happiness. Brenda and her daughters were led inside, where they marveled at the grandeur of the estate. Their envy grew with every step, but Olivia's grace left them feeling small and ashamed. Despite their past actions, Olivia chose forgiveness over anger. Ethan, too, welcomed them with a smile, offering them food and gifts as if they were honored guests. The festival continued with music, dancing, and an outpouring of generosity from Ethan and Olivia. Their kindness and hospitality earned the admiration of everyone present. Brenda and her daughters, however, struggled to hide their embarrassment. They realized they could never undo the damage they had caused or erase the contrast between their actions and Olivia's unwavering goodness. As the night wore on, Olivia found herself reflecting on her journey. She thought of her parents, Abigail and Jack, and the values they had instilled in her. She realized that every hardship she had endured had shaped her into the person she was today. And as she looked around at the joyful faces of the guests, she knew she had finally found the peace and happiness her parents had always wanted for her. In the end, Olivia and Ethan proved that love, kindness, and resilience can overcome even the darkest of times. Their generosity and compassion touched the lives of countless people, and their story became an inspiration throughout the community. Brenda and her daughters, weighed down by their past misdeeds, eventually faded into the background, serving as a reminder that bitterness and envy only lead to isolation. Olivia's strength and forgiveness showed that true power lies in rising above hardship and embracing life with an open heart. As Olivia and Ethan's family grew, their legacy of love and generosity lived on. They built a home not just for themselves but for anyone in need, creating a legacy that would be remembered for generations. Thank you for joining us in this heartfelt journey. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories for more inspiring tales. See you in the next video.